very good morning to one and all. I, Dr. Varsha Upadhyay, a very good morning to one and all. I, Dr. Varsha Upadhyay, on behalf of the Department of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery, welcome you all to today's webinar. For any academician or clinician, research occupies center stage in one's career. Most research projects heavily rely on funding, which is why it is not only important to learn how to write a grant proposal, but also how to write a winning grant. Aside from the obvious financial incentives, grants can be a great way to strengthen our research proposal, bolster our CV, and collaborate with institutions of repute. To begin with, I request the head of the Department of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery, Dr. Joy Sequeira, ma'am, to welcome the dignitaries and delegates.
A very good morning to one and all. On behalf of the Department of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery, I, Dr. Joyce, Professor and Head, welcome you all to today's webinar on the topic, How to Write a Winning Grant Proposal. Quality research, as we all know, requires funds which are not easy to come by. In modern day health science, where research is everything, we cannot be left behind and need to be trained in writing grant proposals to facilitate most of our research. I welcome our speaker of today, Dr. Keshav Prasad, who has many national and international grants to his credit, and our moderator, Dr. Vinita Pai Madam, who has vast experience in the field of research. Thank you for accepting our invitation and agreeing to share your knowledge with us. I welcome Dr. Akhtar Hussain, Dean YDC, and Deans of the constituent colleges, heads of various departments, faculties, research scholars, postgraduates, and interns to this webinar. I wish the program all success, and I am sure the participants will benefit immensely from this scientific deliberation. Thank you, one and all. Now I request our Dean, Dr. Akhtar Hussain, to say a few words.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Dear colleagues, Dr. Joyce, Dr. Keshav Prasad, Dr. Vinita Pai, postgraduates, interns, and my dear students, a very good morning to you all. Competition for grants has never been more intense. Being a renowned scientist doesn't ensure success. So grant government for research scientists who need to fund projects year after year. But besides doing an extensive search on available grants and noting the types of projects financed by various funding bodies, it is wise to learn from the setbacks and successes of others to increase our chances of securing funds. Just looking for opportunities in calamities. And most proposals end in rejection. So, and not to avoid getting what you call discouraged, because missteps give researchers a chance to learn how to find opportunities, write better proposals, and navigate the system. This webinar, I'm sure, is going to be a great help for the researchers, and I wish you guys all the best ahead. Thank you. Last
Thank you, sir. To moderate today's session, we have a very accomplished personality in the field of education and research. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Vinita Ramanath Pai Madam, Deputy Director, Center for PhD Studies and Professor from the Department of Biochemistry, Yenepoya Medical College. Madam has a teaching experience of more than 31 years. She completed her BSc in 1981, MSc in 1984, and was awarded PhD by the University of Mysore in 2003. She qualified for the CSIR UGC Joint JRF Lecturership exam in 1988 and 1989. She was awarded postdoctoral research fellowship at the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore by the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India between 2005 and 7. She did her postdoctoral fellowship at the University of Louisville from December 2007 to 2008. She has also completed her postgraduate diploma in bioethics and medical ethics from Yenepoya deemed to be University in 2012. She has been serving as a chairman of Board of Studies for Basic Sciences from 2013 till date and is a member of the Board of Studies for various other institutions. Dr. Vinita Ma'am has guided an ICMR STS Fellowship project in 2015. She has 47 national and international publications to her credit with over 320 citations. I request you, ma'am, to introduce our speaker and moderate the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Varsha, for those kind words. And Dr. Akhtar Hussain, sir, Vice Principals, Dr. Shambat, sir, Dr. L.K. Chatra, Dr. Maji Jose, Resource Person for this morning, Dr. Keshav Prasad, HOD of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery, Dr. Joyce, the Program Coordinator, Dr. Varsha Upadhyaya, my dear colleagues, PGs, and participants, a very good morning to all of you. In the present times, in all educational institutes, next to the COVID-19 and online classes, the most popular words are research, publications, innovations, and grants. As teachers, writing grants has always come last in our list of priorities, simply because we feel that it is not possible to get, not easy to get, we don't have political pull. Therefore, most of us do not make an attempt. Some of us make half-hearted attempts. Some of us write but do not submit. And submitting and getting rejected is an ultimate mark of failure for us. So someone who can guide us knowing how to crack the code of getting a grant is the need of the hour. Who can do this better than our own colleague, Dr. Keshav Prasad? Dr. T.S. Keshav Prasad is a professor and deputy director of Center of Systems Biology and Molecular Medicine, YRC, at Yenepoya University. Most of his research experience was acquired while he was at IOB Bangalore and from 2004 to 2018. During this tenure, he was also officer in charge of the Proteomics and Bioinformatics Laboratory at the Neurobiology Research Center, NIMANS, Bangalore. He has been part of the Yenepoya fraternity since 2015. At the Institute of Bioinformatics, he has been leading the team in development of human protein reference database, which has more than 4,000 citations. Dr. Keshav Prasad contributed to a draft map of human proteome, which was featured on the cover of Nature. In 2016, these two papers are ranked second and sixth among the top 10 publications with Indian affiliations in the area of biology and chemistry, as evaluated by the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Dr. Keshav has established proteomics facility in 3 places: Institute of Bioinformatics, NIMHANS, Bangalore, and Yenepoya University. Here in Yenepoya University, he established research themes on multi-omics approaches, genomics, proteomics, and metabolomics. His team is venturing in pioneering areas in developing new tools for metabolomic analysis and mass spectrometry-based molecular diagnostics. He has over 180 research articles with over 11,000 citations and an H index of 39. With all this experience, Dr. Keshav has mastered the art of writing proposals for funds from funding agencies. Dr. Keshav got his first grant in 2007 and is writing grants for the past 14 years. Under his leadership, his team has around rupees 30 crores from various national funding agencies and CSR grants from Infosys Foundation. He also has funds from NIMANS and Yenepoya University. In 2020 alone, while most of us are trying to find our foothold over this pandemic, Dr. Prasad has received sanctions of 3 grants from ICMR, one from DHR, one Indo-Dutch grant, one DBT National Facility grant, and one Indo-UK grant from Medical Research Council London, totaling to 13.5 crores. He is the recipient of a number of prestigious awards and more than 4 travel grants. I hope all of you have your books and pens ready because this is going to be a very important session for all of us. With these few words, I apologize to Dr. Keshav Prasad for cutting short his CV, and I present Dr. Keshav Prasad to you, ladies and gentlemen. Over to Dr. Keshav Prasad.
So good morning, everyone. So can you see which are already shared? So can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, Keshav, we can hear you.
Yeah. So thank you for coming here to listen to me today online. So topic of the today's things the people have given me on how to write a winning grant proposal. So overview of my talk today will be how to be a successful and smart grants man or woman. And there are certain tips to be successful when you are writing a grant. The first one to be lot of tips on how to develop a winning personality. That should be more important than grant writing itself. And you have to develop a niche and environment around you to be successful. So then finally we will come into where to apply. There are hundreds of online materials you will get, and also on a typical grant proposal and its content. So let me start with how the personality develops. The personality develops majorly by association. Let us see, there's famous Sanskrit good words called Subhashitani. So this is the one which will aptly tell how the association matters. So santaptat yasi samstitasya payaso namapi najnayate muktakarataya tadeva nalini patrasthitam rajate swatyam sadara shukti madhyapatitam san mauktikam jnayate. What is the actual meaning is, the same water drop, when it falls on a hot iron plate, its name is also not heard. And the same water drop, if it falls on a lotus leaf on a sunny day, it shines like a pearl. But the same water drop, it falls on a particular organisms like marine mollusks. This is what the saying in the ancient times. So the water drop falls on a swathi star on a inside this marine mussel will become the pearl. So that's how your association depends on the samsarga which you are having. So always associate with people, with successful people. So then you also will become successful. The positive vibes around these successful contacts will make you successful. So questions to ponder over when you want to be successful. Success breeds success. This is the one topic. So then you have to look successful before you become successful. How to look successful? So what is the measure of success? We should know that what is the measure of success today in scientific world. So when you want to have research as one of your motto. So then we have to know that what is the currency of a scientist and what is the duty of a scientist. These are very important questions you have to think about all the time. So there is also an advantage we are being in India, because there are very less scientists in India. when compared to other countries. Even countries like Kenya, we are falling short of them. Chile have more scientists for 10,000 people or 10 lakh people. When you count, there are only 4 Indians are researchers out of the 10,000 people. Whereas competition is very high in UK and USA and Russia and other developed countries. And also, women have a very peculiar niche in India because there are not many women scientists around. Therefore, a lot of support is given, especially for women. That's why all the women audience I am telling you have more advantage of being an researcher, and that also in India. So are we less productive? We always have a complaint that, oh, nothing will happen in India. So United States and other big places, you will get more grants and other things. It is not so. When you compare the population and the per million people who are the spending per the researchers, when you have the total number of researchers, total amount of the money spent from India, when you normalize it, we are almost spending, India is almost spending same amount of money what the US or Russia or other countries are providing for per researcher. However, India had to do more in terms of the mobilization of funds from per GDP, but still, because number of scientists are less, India is spending as much as the other countries. However, another area we have to think that why are we not focusing on translation, or why are we not focusing on patents? So when compared to countries like South Korea and other advanced countries, and even China and Russia, we are spending time on very less time on patenting, and our people do not know or do not focus on patenting. That is not the thing which they inculcate from the beginning. I think we have to start that. With all said and done, a world of a scientist is very, very hyper competitive world, and especially in biology. And we all know research is full of roadblocks, we tell that. But which one doesn't have roadblock? Any aspect of our life you see, we are all struggling. That is true for everyone. So we should not single out only research. You have to create an environment, you have to keep removing the roadblocks and help your next generation to have less roadblocks. We should not end up creating more roadblocks because we had roadblocks, we are creating more roadblocks to our students. That should not be. We have to simplify the procedures. We have to come out of red tapeism. So, and we have to know the surroundings also. And we have to be different. If you want to be successful, you have to be different. You cannot go along with the herd. We cannot become a sheep in a herd of sheep. So, how to be different? We have to think about this all the time. And for this, you should know how the people judge you. When I'm telling how the people judge you, it is not your family member or your friends. I'm talking about your colleagues, your peers, other scientists, how they judge you. And then another thing, you also have to ask question, why the funding agencies have to fund you? This is the main question you have to ask yourself in the world of scientists if you want to be successful. So instead of whining about it or crying about what is happening around, I think we have to take charge of our life. So think about the idea related to your project or related to your area of science each day. When you hit upon a good idea, it can happen to you while you are taking bath, it can happen to you in between your dreams. Immediately take steps to plan out the experiment and jolt it down, because if you wait for next 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 1 hour, you may forget it. That wonderful idea you may lose for life. You may get it after 10 years, again that idea. So whenever you get an idea, immediately note it down. Maybe in your mobile, somewhere, notes or somewhere, you have to note it down. If you may not have time to think about it that day or that time. You may be busy with something else. But you can approach for that. See, most of the things which I have now carried out, I am now carrying out at Yenepoya, has been jolted down during when I was in IOP, when I didn't even have these kind of facilities. So I have been thinking about it for over the long period of time of 10 years, but it becomes relevant today. And because we have created that facilities today around us, we have people who can pull it off. So we have collaborators who have come on the way when you are thinking about that idea. So like that. So whenever you have an idea, you have to write down and you have to make a habit of developing ideas and thinking about ideas all the time in your walk of life. So do not think about what you do not have when you get an idea. These things, what you do not have, you may get in future, or you may happen to make it available for you in future. So you have to think about what you have and what India has, what the world has. Because the entire world is yours. If you want to do something, you have to enable that thing. You have to write to somebody who has the facility. So you have to talk to them and you have to become a collaborator. Today, everything is possible in this world. Because now, earlier, whatever we have not thought about has become possible. We can spend hours together in Google Meet discussing science. We don't need to go abroad, or you don't need to go to nearest institute. You can have hooked to your computer. Now everybody learned it because of the pandemic. So this is another opportunity given to us for interaction. We can have seamless interaction today because everyone has developed the infrastructure. So then another thing is the moment you talk to anybody or you raise a question in a conference or in a webinar or anything, first thing your other colleagues will see is they Google you. So you have to create your own web page. You have to do your own advertisements in a better way. So you should look successful. And you should tell your enthusiasm, you should tell your plans, you should state your team and availability of facilities to the world. That's why creating your own website and updating it regularly is of paramount importance if you want to become successful. So you also have to set a goal from the start. So let us say some goals like that. For a PhD student, so I want to graduate in 5 years or 4 years or 3 years, whatever it is. So I want to synthesize and purify that molecule which I wanted to work in next 3 months. Or I want to publish a paper in every month or every third month or every fortnight or maybe some 4 papers in a year. So then another very, very important things when you are comparing your goals is, when you are setting your goal is, never compare your progress with your colleague or your boss or your HOD or your student. Always compare your progress with yourself. Whether I am better this week, did I do something more or different this week than last week? Or whether my H index has increased this year compared to last year at this point of time? What should I do in order to achieve those goals? Keep your destination in mind and achieve the things by bits. So, I told you in the first slide that you have to create your niche area. Niche area is an environmental concept for an organism. It is a, evolution concept. The organism adapts to a certain environment and where it is bound to be most successful. So you have to create your niche area where you can be most successful. Once you put your niche area and then you collaborate with the people, like-minded people outside your niche area in order to capture those areas, in order to venture into those areas. So choose an area of expertise. And when I told choose an area of expertise, we know in India we have caste system. And that comes into sometimes to our research area also, our subject area also. Our mind is blocked with this. So if I am an oral pathologist, I cannot do any work on any other area. I want to work on pathology. If I am working on microbiology, I always have to work on microorganisms. If I am an oncologist, I cannot work on infectious diseases. So these kind of mindset you have to remove. Because I was a botanist by training. My PhD was done in botany. But I never shied away to work on proteomics, bioinformatics. I have made now these areas my niche area. Because you have to find out You have to develop multiple skills in order to produce your niche area. You have to choose an area which is the world. There may not be something which is unique in your area or in your subject area where you are graduated, but you have to move to an area which the world needs tomorrow or today. What is the need of the world? So, for this, you have to continuously listen to thought leaders and personality development specialists. You have to have some favorites among them. You have to follow the leaders of disruptive technologies. Like how? Nobody thought that internet data can be given free. Nobody thought that classrooms can be taken online. Although IDEA thought a long time back, IDEA network. But by the time the situation favored it, IDEA network was not a major player. Geo was a major player. So same way, nobody told Elon Musk to compete with NASA to make rocket launching more economical. Nobody told Elon Musk that trucks can be produced which can run on batteries. See, these are the disruptive technologies which people do. So that way, you have to think something out of box and work on it, and you will achieve them. That is the whole idea. You have to develop multiple skills. You have to choose an area of expertise, and that becomes a niche area. And in that niche area, you have to think. You should think about disruptive technologies. So then, once you have your niche area defined and do, this will take around 2 to 3 to 5 years. Today, in today's world, you can have accelerated programs to achieve this. Once you are settled with your niche area, you will realize it is very difficult to perform any project or in complete solitude. You need friends. You need collaborators. You can gain extra rewards. You collaborate with the oncologists, and you can do oncoproteomics if you are a proteomics person. If you are a molecular diagnostics person, you collaborate with the infectious diseases person, you can come up with molecular diagnostics for infectious diseases. So like, you gain extra rewards for a limited amount of work. When I'm telling this limited amount of work is not a small amount of work, I'm telling limited area of work. You are restricted to a limited area, but you find a collaborator from another limited area, so your area of the work expands. And please find a collaborator. You can find number of them, depending on your choice and depending on your personality. They are everywhere, because everybody wants to be successful in this world. So, next step is you have to design win-win experiments. You cannot think about only about yourself. When you are collaborating with somebody, you have to think about collaborators. Sometimes your collaborator may need more money than you in your project. Then you should be generous enough to give that money to him, and you keep less money what is required for your work, and then collaboration builds on. You have to be very generous. So you can design different shades of projects like high risk, high reward experiments. Always there is 1% of success. You can also have win-win experiments of, maybe 30 lakh rupees project, 1 crore rupees project, multi-institution like some 5 to 10 crore rupees project. So like this, you have to keep on having all the shades of experiments in your kit. Depending on the circumstances, you have to change same topic into multiple things. Because we cannot always keep crying. We cannot keep always whining, because lifetime is very, very limited and short. And by the time you created all the niche and facility, you will not be there to eat it. Somebody else will be benefited, and your future generation will be benefited. Your students will be benefited. So we have to think, we have to have this picture of, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Whatever I am doing is not for me. It is for the world. It is for the department. It is for the institute. We should have that kind of focus when you are creating certain things. Because if you are creating only for yourself, you can achieve a very, very little thing. You cannot achieve big things. So cultivate always a new habit of thinking about it. If you don't have such kind of habit, please build them from today. So this is my request. So another thing, main character for a successful person is you have to listen first, then react. Like If you are designing an experiment on cancer, don't rely on only literature. If you are working on infectious diseases, don't rely on only literature for infectious diseases. Because often literature is always filled with success story. Nobody writes their failed experiments in literature. So if you don't go to a person who has already indulged in that area of science, you will not know what not to do. So never do things which have already been failed somewhere else. So in order to do that, if you're developing a project on cancer molecular diagnostics, go to an industry person. You may find a friend or collaborator who has worked on cancer diagnostics in industry. You may have people who are experts in cancer. Rank them in the India. Take top 50 cancer specialists in India. You may have top people in cancer biology or top infectious diseases people around you in your same institute. Go to them. Shed your ego. Do not have any, be submissive. Listen to them. Talk to them. What is their diagnostic dilemma? What is their prognostic dilemma? What are the tools they don't have? What are the tools they are willing to have? And many times what will happen is people may tell in the area of things which they know. People don't know sometimes what they want. Like nobody thought before Steve Jobs gave you that you need iPhone and iPad. You might have not even think about your dream. Nobody has thought a phone which will click the camera. Nobody has asked it. People are happy with their, cameras. So, but these things are given to you by a thought process of the people, thought leaders of the world. So, it is not that we have to ask always the market. We have to show the market that whether if we do like this, whether it is better, something like that. This kind of discussion should happen. See, one of the fundamental things for any product development or a project development is the discussion. It will happen, it will start over a coffee or it will start over a just an elevator. So you should be always looking for experts in the world if you want to work on the area, that particular area. So the top 10 people may not want to talk to you, but the top 30th person or the 99th person in your list of 100 is also almost as expert as top 10. So you go to them and you build your rapport with them and work with them. So most grants are reviewed by experts, and most journals, when they review your manuscript, we call them peer review. That means they are as experts as you. And most grant review experts also, they know how to review a grant, but in the subject area, they may not be as experts as you, or they may be as expert as you. But you don't need to wait to hear a reviewer's comment. Before that, you can discuss your project with a friend and with the enemy or with a colleague or your HOD. Sometimes, if they don't like you, they may give you 100 bad things about your proposal. They may pick and tell you, and you have to use them. You silently come, do not cry, change those things, improve on those points with the tips given to you. Remember, these tips are given to you free of cost. If you go to an expert, sometimes consultants and other things, they charge huge amount. So it is better to have these tips and do not cry, thank them, and the reviewers, actual reviewers of the grants will have very, very less things to ask once you address these comments. And all of us are human beings. Be it your friend, colleague, or HOD, or vice chancellor, or registrar, all of us are, human beings. We all have our own experience. Each one have come up with their life, with their own experience and reasoning ability. So, depending on the time available for them, depending on the particular mood of the day, when you appear with your questions, they may give you certain inputs. Take them with folded hands. salute them and come and improve your brands. And then do not burn bridges with your colleagues at any point of time if you want to be successful. Never become too critical of people. If you want to help them, you can always do one-on-one. It need not be over the series of a webinar. Never hate successful people, because success always breeds success. Successful people have some virtues, because of that they have become successful. If you hate successful people, you will never become successful, because you will not adopt their qualities. So don't be critical of others unnecessarily, other success unnecessarily. Find out why they are successful. So now the next question comes. So now I have you people with these inputs, everyone has become a different kind of personality, winning personality. Once you become winning personality, you should know the tools with which people evaluate you. And before they evaluate you, you evaluate yourself. That should be the idea. So a journal is decided or evaluated or ranked based on its impact factor. There are so many other parameters also today, because people think that impact factors may not be of the too much of advantage or something like that, because it varies from subject to subject, varies from discipline to discipline. So whatever impact factor is for mycology may not be the impact factor for journal ranking for proteomics, or it may differ in physics. So this is always there, but still people always respect journals based on its impact factors and reach. And an article is judged because of citation and access. So now when it comes to researcher, the main currency of researcher is number of publications. So number of publications will determine how much quantitative he is, how much quantities he is doing. But there is also another view that the quality publications are preferred over just the number of papers which do not even attract eyeballs. So how to decide quality of a paper is based on how many people read it and how many people cited it. So the number of citations is very important. So average number of citations per article. Sometimes what happens is number of citations of some of your paper may be very high, and when other papers may not have any citations. So people have come up with another parameter, that is number of citations divided by the number of articles you published. Then today there are more sophisticated things have come, like gaining popular, like H index, G index, and then I-10 index to determine the quality. There are many indices. If you go on the online, you will get a lot of them. But mostly nowadays H index has been more embraced when compared to other indices. So this is developed by Hirsch in 2000, Dr. Hirsch in 2005. I'm not going into details of that. Most of you may know about it, otherwise you can easily learn them. So when I told that when I wanted to compare myself, you can take any tool out there. You can go to Google Scholar, or you can go to Scopus, or you can go to Researcher ID. As I told you, you have to create your own website, or even go to ResearchGate. And there are many online tools available today. Fill up them, but correct the material given against your name, because sometimes what will happen is they get confused with multiple names, and your index will be very high because of that. So go and check them, and whatever is not belonging to you, delete them, and then refine them continuously. So this is, I had a 21 H index in 2015 when I came to Yenepoya first time. So then every year, if you think, see, next year, within 1 year, my H index has rose by 2. Then suddenly, within next 1 year, my H index has rose by around 7 points, which is very unusual. So, but you have to focus on, your time will come. So this has become 30 H index. This is how you have to compare your progress with yourself, not with another person. So this is how your story goes. So your number of citations have come, H index has come, and I-10 index can be easily seen in the Google Scholar. So I-10 index means that at least your paper is cited by, every paper is cited by 10. Those papers are counted. My total of 180 articles today, 112 articles are cited at least 10 times. So that is the importance of, that is how you can judge the quality of your own papers. So never compare with the person who has trained you or mentored you, or because there will be a huge gap, because you cannot be another personality. Their personality is different, so you cannot compare yourself to another person. So the year-wise, they are in your area different year, more number of years than you. They have been with the more association than you. They had a better position than you. There are so many parameters, you know. So stop comparing yourself to anybody else. Like never compare to your boss, never compare to your contemporaries, never compare to your students. So be your own person, compare yourself, always your achievements. So create your own pages with the various scientific, this one available there, Scopus ID, Researcher ID, Loop IDs. There are so many of them. LinkedIn. You create your own page and put your, advertisements there, and also keep on updating them regularly. That also you have to think about that. So accumulate your achievements by bits and pieces. Never your achievements do not come all of a sudden. And the miracle can happen. I am not telling that miracle cannot happen. It happens sometimes. But you wait for that opportunity. But always have bits and pieces accumulate your achievements. So there is a famous saying in Subhashita Nikaya, Kshanashaha Kanashaschaiva Vidyamartham cha sadhaye Kshane naste kuto vidya Kane naste kutodana. So you have to save every moment of your life. You have to spend on learning. So then only you will become highly educated, or your wisdom will increase. Same way, every penny you have to save if you want to become rich. So if you lose knowledge and if you lose pennies, then how will you become rich, or how will you become educated or wise person? Now with this, we can come back to the grant writing, exact mode of how the grant writing, and before that, what preparation you should have. So the request, the guidelines, go to the websites of all the funding agencies. So this you have to do, not when the call for proposal has come, not when Dr. Arun Bhagavat or your HOD sends you the call for proposal notification. So our incubator center and Dr. Arun Bhagavat are doing beautiful job. They are sending regularly these things as soon as it is announced. But there are also friends who will send you just 2 days left for the submission date. But don't depend on any of these things. Always have a habit of looking into these funding agencies and at least spend 15 minutes or 30 minutes of your life every day reading call for proposal section on multiple URLs, which you can already store and keep in your computer. So just like how otherwise you do WhatsApp or Facebook. So please have a habit of looking at DBT call for proposal, DST call for proposal, and ICMR call for proposal, DIT call for proposal, many of these kind of things. You may never know. You may always think about less about you. Like you may not give under, estimate you. So maybe world may need you. So that's why you have to think about these guidelines and think about annual reports and other pertinent information of foundation and agency and every now and then. So you also have to think about the issue or a scientific problem, which can be local, which can be national or international importance. So here what you have to do is, depending on that, you have to choose your funding agency. If it is very local and if you need very less money, better to ask a national government, state government. And then if it is a pan-India problem, go to the national story. Then sometimes these people also come up with the rare diseases. You may be working on a very, very rare disease, which may not attract attention in ICMR in other sections, but they come up with a rare disease forum. At that time, you can be ready. So, but be ready before the call for proposal comes, because after that you will have only 10-30 days. In that it is very difficult to set up a collaboration and other documents ready. So always do this. And another thing you have to do is through your website, through your scientific contacts, always you have to ready to educate others about your enthusiasm, capability, and credibility and area of interest. Like you may never know, you may get a time when you are going in flight from Bangalore to Delhi, you may have an ICMR director on your side seat. Wow, it's a great opportunity. Never leave them. Grill them with your knowledge. Grill them your passion. Grill them with your passion. Tell them how unfortunate you are and nobody has seen your ability and what all things you have achieved. They may not know about you, but they have no chance of jumping down from 33,000 feet. They are caught with you for 3 hours. They have to listen to you. So they will listen to you. This is an opportunity, but you have to be ready. You cannot read your notes at that point of time when the ICMR director comes and sits besides you. You may happen to meet a Bill Gates in your elevator. You have 2 minutes with Bill Gates. You have to tell about your works in 2 minutes. And remember, Broad Institute is built with the elevator talk, with a 3-minute talk in the elevator with the funding agency people or philanthropists. So many big things have been done in 3 to 4 minutes. Things are decided for big facilities around the world. But you should be ready and you should jump in when your opportunity comes. And always write minimum when you are given a grant writing opportunity. What the agencies want, you should write. Because that's why I told you, you have to read about annual reports of agencies. You have to read about trust areas of agencies. Then only you will get to write what you have to write, how much you have to write. Always write minimum, because most reviewers are strict and they do not have much time to read the garbage you are writing. So never beat around the bush. Always become specific. Okay, if they specify page length, if they specify page margin, if they specify font type and size, be sure to follow these specifications. What happens is when you are preparing draft proposal, you do not care about punctuations, you do not care about everything. You will tell that, oh, we will do it later. So do not do that. Decide on every punctuation and spelling mistakes and everything periodically when you are writing a grant. Because what will happen is, at the end of the time, you will not have time for these things and your grant will go in a shabby way to the funding agency, which they may not like. So keep in mind always, never cry. This you have to always keep in mind when you are writing grant. It is their money, follow their rules. So if Yenepoya funded you seed grants, follow the rules of Yenepoya. We cannot cry. It is their money. So also become a reviewer of your own grant much earlier than what you expect. You are always critical about others, but you may not be critical about yourself. So be a reviewer for your own grant. You make fewer mistakes and then always remember who is the one who is going to read it. So use charts, graphs, tables and pictures. Most of the grants which I receive for review do not have any figures, do not have any graphs or tables. Because always pictures, a good picture or image speaks 100 words. So you may have to write less if you have a good workflow and good graphs and tables. And always tell a good story. Become a grandma. How a grandma entertains a child when while telling a story. Same way, come with those kind of stories in your grant proposal also, so that your reviewer gets actual story of yours in a very, very nice way. So make it very picture perfect. So, but keep in mind, no matter how picture perfect your story is, finally it is the funder's choice if they want to fund you or not. So just leave it to the fate. Again, karmanyevadhikaraste ma paleshu kadachan. Keep writing grants. When the grant sanction comes, send it to your colleagues and university and department, and that's it. Forget about that grant and move to next grant writer. So, as I told you earlier, do not wait for call for proposal. Begin early. And I am telling this is for our student friends also. If you want to write an SRF project, write now. Do not wait, though CSIR has not yet opened because of COVID. This one has not yet opened. Go and already start discussing with your guide. Write your SRF proposal, write your DST Inspire proposal, write your Welcome Trust DPT Early Career Fellow, write your welcome trust clinical proposals, because clinicians have been kept differently, treated differently in welcome trust early grant and intermediate grant. You don't need to fight with the basic scientists from University of Science or IITs. You have your own section where you will fight with only other clinicians. So keep writing proposals. When you get the opportunity, you submit it. Otherwise, you submit it in a general bank and apply early and often. Do not wait for a last day. And after years of telling this to my students and my colleagues, now we have started submitting one day before the deadline. So earlier it was always when the deadline comes, we used to submit. So that is the only difference we also made. Telling is easy, apply early and often. But because we don't have that kind of attitude and wisdom, we always end up doing it in the last minute. One or the other thing, it keeps on postponing. So you need to write a very good cover letter and answer all the questions in the cover letter. Then you will ask me, where are the questions? Questions are there everywhere. You yourself can create question and you can answer them. Or you can take online help. There are so many sites which will tell that how to write a good cover letter, how to write a good grant proposals. There they have listed a lot of questions. So you can go through that. Some of them I listed in my slide. Rejected, the grant is rejected. Don't worry. Take the reviewer's comments. If the reviewer's comments is not there, think in the other people, sit with other people why the grant was rejected. So the Dr. Vinuta Madam has told a lot of things about grants and other things, successful grants of mine this year. But there were also a lot of unsuccessful grants that I have not listed in my CV. So rejection is a part of life. When I get one grant, my 2 grants are rejected. So you revise it and apply again when you get another opportunity. So give always funding agencies what they want. Be explicit and specific. These things you have to be very careful. Do not beat around bush. Ask 100 questions when you are writing things, whether it is needed or whether it is not needed. Whether I can be specific. These are the needs, of a cover letter or other things or your research articles. There are so many questions. Like, because this particular topic is in YouTube, so you can go through again and again and you can copy these questions. So what is the topic? Why it is important? Why your research questions are important to address the topic? And what are you going to answer? What the relevance your research questions have to the society or a industry or a product development or translation or patients or poor farmers or poor households? What are your hypotheses to address this question? And sometimes what happens is your project can be a data generating project. There may not be any hypothesis, but you cannot tell a reviewer that there is no hypothesis. So you have to write something. So you can convert your biological rationale as hypothesis, something like that. Or you can gently tell under that section that there is no real hypothesis for that because this is a hypothesis generating experiment. Something like that. You cannot tell that not applicable. You have to tell something under every section. So when you are creating a budget, they ask for justification. Most people send grants without any justification. So spend some time for justification. You tell that why a research scholar is required, why an JRF is required, why a SRF is required, why not a JRF, why not a project assistant, why a research associate is required, and why a postgraduate, postdoctoral fellow is required in your grant. So what are your research methods? Why is your research project is important? Will you be undertaking, what kind of research you are undertaking? All these questions. There are hundreds of these kind of questions. You have to focus on them and you have to address them. So now it comes to an academic people. What is a research proposal? What is the definition? And this is purely academic. Okay, a research proposal, what it is? It's a document on a specific project intended to be implemented. And it can be not only for funding agency, it can be to address your supervisors, it can be addressed to your HOD, or it can be addressed to your yearly progress report. So a proposal can also be for seeking funding. So why a research proposal can need to be built? So one thing is to seek a funding for a particular project, or to give an approximate cost for that activity, or persuade others about your project validity, because sometimes what happens is there will be a competition in a university. You may have only one project to go from university for a particular this departmental project, then you may have to fight with other departments. So there you submit a proposal and then somebody evaluate in your university, and then your project will be selected. For this proposal also you need a proposal. And sometimes what happens is you may want to compile all the methodologies used in a subject area. For that, you may have to write a review kind of article, and which can be then later converted into a research proposal. Because those area of expertise may not be available in the university. So we need these kind of facilities in the university. So you can submit this kind of things to university for a facility grant. And then sometimes a professor can give his PDF a task of writing a research proposal, or research student task of writing a research proposal to test his creativity as an academician. So then to prepare yourself as a future scientist, you can write, when you are still a student, you can start writing a research proposal. It is not that only after your PhD degree is awarded, you should write research proposal. You can start much before that. So now you can see these days, so the young, the advertisements that somebody has coded and people are fighting, very young guy, very young boy wrote a program. So like this. So anybody can do. Similarly, any age group can write a research proposal once you know all these areas of question. So a research proposal should contain a detailed plan of action on a question, and it should present a research problem, and it should also highlight the significance of that research problem in terms of potential, market potential, and in terms of benefit to society, in terms of the benefit to the country, and then or humanity all over the world. So you have to have definitely the methods to test the hypothesis, and you should have a timetable and outline of the project, and you also have to have an estimated cost and investment on this. So start writing your research proposal, identify research questions and needs, and then think about the area of exploration, filling the knowledge gap, and always define project outcome. An imaginary outcome has to be defined, and it should be very attractive or lucrative for a funding agency. Otherwise, your grant will be rejected. If you want to be successful, catch those lucrative outcomes, and you should have a passion to deliver them at the end of the day. And your duration should be mentioned, resources and funding, from where you will get, how much your university or institute will fund, all these gaps you have to mention, all these areas you have to mention in your grant. So, topic of research, importance to industry and society. I have already told you this. How do you fit into that? Why government or a private foundation has to fund you? So, you have to tell what expertise you have, what skills you have amassed over the years, how you are learning everything new in your life every day. Tell about your passion also. This is an opportunity given to you. You have to fill your entire effort here. And you tell about your circumstances. You have this facility, you have your colleagues in the adjacent department who are also experts, and you have your HOD and the vice chancellor and the registrar and the chancellor who is pro-research and who is helping you in all walks of life. All these things you have to mention, how Yenepoya is different, and how Yenepoya is funding you or any other organization where you are working, how it is funding, how it is helping you in achieving your goals. So you have to mention these things. If you have always complaints about your institute, you may not do a good job in this. So that's why you should have that positive vibe when you are doing your work. So tell about novelty of your work and your rationale of your work. Then finally, for the need of project, you have to write objectives and how these objectives will help in achieving your goals. So I have already mentioned about hypothesis and methods to test the hypothesis, and then important things like statistics, validation, and then ethics consideration, and then you have to pass it with all the committees possible, because this will become added importance for your grant, because it has been already reviewed by scientific review board, it has been already reviewed by ethics board, and all these things will be strong points for your successful of your grant that you have already done, which most other people didn't do. Because most of the time, including me, sometimes we do not take ethics clearance before we submit the grant. We will tell that ethics, it will be submitted and it will take time. So it is better to do this much in advance. Maybe because it is reviewed in ethics, there will be a lot of questions from ethics people. You can already include that. Scientific review board. So people are always experts, in asking questions for others' grants. So please accept them in folded hands, include the answers for them, and it will always for your benefit. Do all these things early before the funding comes. And do not think which funding agency has the last question in your process. Ask this question much before. That's why I put it at the end. So always ask this much before even you decide the topic of research. So this is the contents. This you will find I have given at the end of my presentation all the sources for how to write a grant. Everybody, whether they are successful or not successful in writing grant, but they are experts in telling you that, what are the contents of your proposal, how it should be. There are enough experts over there. They have written publications over this, and they have written book chapters over this. So you can find out them, because I don't want to tell those things again and again repetitive. These are the various contents of your proposal, like introduction, review of literature, aims and objective, research design and methods, and then ethical considerations, budget, appendices, citations, all these things. It depends on your style. You can, put it one before another. The citations can come in between your topics. Okay, these are the readings which you can do. So I have given you URL of many things, and then there is also some do's and don'ts of successful grant writing, which I have not included slides here in this talk, but you can always go to this website and you can Google them and you can read about them. So there are many types of grants. You have to be educated yourself on this, and what are the things which can be done through this and what you cannot do on this. See, for example, in case of Center of Excellence, usually you should have been one expert should be there. Surrounding him, there are many young scientists should be there. Only expert, if he writes, he will not get Center of Excellence. He should show young people who have just done their PhD, who are willing to learn that area of things. And the baton of scientific expertise has to be transferred to those young people. So only when you have that promise, Center of Excellence will be given. And this is more than 10 crores. The Center of Excellence is. I have got 3 centers of excellence. One at 2 at NIMANS, one at IOB, one at NIMANS, and another one at one in collaboration with Dr. Pushkar Sharma in NII, and then we have got the very good amount of funding under this umbrella. So program support is nothing but a Center of Excellence, but for some reason they tell that, we will give you, instead of 10 crores, we will give you only 5 crores, then program support comes. Please understand that when you have multi-institute collaborative network, Center of Excellence and program support, you have to distribute funds evenly across your multiple partners. You cannot be greedy and put all the money under your umbrella and give only token money to others. Then the grant agency can see it very easily, and all the efforts what you have put will be in vain. Okay? So when it comes to incubation grants and BIRAC product-oriented grants, we have an incubation center at Yenepoya. So Dr. Asim and Dr. Arun Bhagwat are very focused on that area right now, and you can go and discuss with them. And there are technology readiness levels which you have to understand. You have to read about them, and you should have a patent or IPR protected your data. Then only you can get the grants. And there are also various grants for even early grants are there under the BIRAC, where many of these things may not be needed. So only ideas may be needed. So these are the incubation things, grants. And then there are skill development grants. If you are a good teacher and love to pass the skills to the people, you get these kind of grants to be good for you. So you can create MSc, PG diploma program or R&D labs and workshops and winter schools on particular skills which you develop. And you can also create national facilities for certain areas which other people do not have. And slowly you can turn them into core facility and your niche area of your expertise. So women scientists have other advantages because you don't need to compete with the men. There is no competition. Women specific grants are many and more opportunities out there. And even women scientists are very less in number who apply for grants. So career break is an advantage when you have certain things are there only for people who had career break, and career break should come because of looking after kids or pregnancy or then looking after your parents or relocation because of marriage. These kind of things can qualify that, and then you can immediately. And it is very, very interesting to or appreciable to note that women scientist program doesn't differentiate between the person who had PhD or do not have PhD. And while you are doing PhD, you can become women scientist. You are called as women scientists, not as SRS or RA. So this can continue for 5 years. It can continue even after your PhD. After your PhD, it will be converted into a full-time assistant professor salary. So these are the very advantages of women scientist schemes. And then there are many of them funding agencies, as I told you. There are many international agencies. There is one very peculiar Erasmus Plus agency where you need 5 European partners and 5 Indian partners. So the grant is very huge. Your competition will be very less because these 5 European partners are difficult to find out and 5 Indian partners are difficult to find out. If you approach in this path to put them together, and you will definitely get the grant on Erasmus Plus. So then there are many corporate social responsibilities grants like Infosys Foundation, Bill Gates Foundation, Melinda Gates Foundation, then Bill Clinton Foundation. So many things are there. So importance of grants for stress-free life, because people tell that I am stressed. So if you have enough grants, so you can lead a stress-free life in your career. Because there is a saying in Sanskrit, Yasyasti vittam sanaraha kulinaha saha panditaha sakshutavan gunajna sa eva vakta sachadarshaniyaha sarve gunaha kanchanamashayante. So when you have money with you, people call you very sophisticated. They will give you respect and you will be the most wise person in your group. And you are a pandit. And you are ambassador and spokesperson of your community because you have more money. And you are the most learned, and you are a guide, and you are a philosopher. This has been told 5,000 years ago, which is aptly suitable for even today to explain. So that's why I tell all of you, do not think grant writing is a burden. So make it your most favorite hobby. So once you have all these ingredients which I have spoken, so it becomes really, really smooth running affair. So make it your most favorite hobby, and you will be the most needed if you are a grant writer, if you are a grantsman, successful grant writer to any organization, because every work needs vitamin M, which is the most deficient vitamin, that is money. So with this, I thank you all, and any questions, I love to answer. Over to the moderators.
Thank you, Dr. Keshav. That was a very comprehensive presentation coming from world of a scientist, how to take charge of your life, set goals from the start, find the niche area where you fit in, think about collaboration early, design win-win experiments, listen first and react later, evaluate yourself as a performer or as a researcher, how to prepare yourself for grant writing, the needs and focus of writing a grant, the parts of a research grant proposal, the topic of research how to explain the importance of what you're doing, and in general, giving us an idea what is needed for writing a grant and how to present yourself. Thank you very much. I'm sure the faculty members and the postgraduates are attending here who have taken down a lot of notes to go back and work on them. If there are any questions, please type them in the chat section so we can get conversation to answer them for you. Okay, so it appears there are not many questions. Dr. Ketchum, I will ask you a question.
Yes.
How exact, can you tell us a little bit on what type of grants can be applied for which agencies? For example, if I have an innovative idea, which grant can I apply that for?
So it depends on your research question really, how much important it is for the scientific community or the society or industry. So if your project can be easily monetizable, a product, a definitive product will come out of it. Or if your idea has a potential to, to start a company, so we can easily go to direct route. So for that, you have to consult how the BIRAC route works and how the presentations will be and all those things. And if you are an early researcher, it is better to go with the rapid grant for young investigator schemes. So where you can do early career scientists. So you will get around 20 to 30 lakh rupees grant. And most of these grants are not very stringent. So, but if your grant needs very high amount of money and infrastructure, it is better to go to a multi-institute collaborative network where you list the top 100 experts in that area and have them as your mentors and co-principal investigators or consultants in your team and apply for a big center of excellence or a program support proposal. So that is for your depends on your need and depends on your question. There are variety of agencies and variety of grant forms available. So that one has to go and really read and understand these things, and then they can take up the decision where to go. Hope I have answered your question.
All the information is available in the website of the funding agency. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah. All the information that you told is available in the website of the funding agencies.
Yeah, most of them, because you will also have trust areas of industry. Trust areas of funding agency. For example, ICMR has listed around 10 trust areas of their funding. And then you can also go to annual report of ICMR or DST or DBT and what kind of this one they are. And even in the call for proposal, they clearly mention what exact area which they are looking for. So these kind of things will be very, very informative and for the people who are actually writing grants on that agency. And usually every agency has given even the format of their grant proposal. And then every agency these days have online tool to submit the grants. So these have specific number of words and even specific styles. And these things you can keep looking for much in advance than at the last moment, because you will get surprised in the last moment because the format which is given in the PDF document will be different from format given online. So all these things you have to, anticipate much earlier. So the application should start much earlier than not able to hear you.
Age limit for applying for grants?
So are you asking that which age group is
Yeah,
something
like,
like that?
if you can apply for certificate, cannot apply after 45 years, things like that. So,
So there are certain age restrictions for certain type of grants. Not all grants have age restriction. So, but they definitely ask that project period should be over before you superannuate. So in such cases, even after superannuation, if you provide grants, you have to collaborate with a much younger faculty and put grants under their leadership. Still, you can help them, and you can, because there will be many such willing people who can be guided by the aged person and the senior citizen, and still have that respect towards you for helping them.
over to Dr. Varsha. Dr. Varsha,
Sir, I have one question, sir. What is the scope for medical research grants in this COVID era for non-COVID research topics? Is it the same or has there been any cutoff?
So people, it is very reasonable to assume that, okay, funding agencies have diverted all their money into COVID research. But there is also concern with the other experts because of too much of focus on COVID or restrictions on COVID, lockdown and all those things. Many other areas have been neglected for a while, which should not have been neglected. Now they will become priority areas in the years to come. So no need to get panicked because now MTB will be resurgent, mycobacterial diseases will come back, many stress-related diseases will come back. So many areas will gain importance over the next few years than COVID itself. So, and then as scientists, we cannot change according to the season. Scientists are having expertise in specific area. So they have to focus on specific area. COVID is a viral problem and virologists and internal medicine people have to address it and the policy makers will give preference to them rather than a biochemist or other person who has worked on malaria cannot suddenly become overnight a COVID scientist. And it will not work also. So that's why if there is some overlap, if somebody from the area of virology approaches you for help for COVID research, you can definitely join, depending on the area of expertise you have. But as a scientist, we cannot change according to the season. After COVID, dengue will come. Will you write grants on dengue? After that, something else will come. You cannot write grants on that like that. You can restrict to yourself, but as I told you, keep yourself ready much earlier than the situation or circumstances demands it. So, the area of your research has importance.
Thank you, sir. Since there are no more questions in the chat box, we will conclude the session. I thank our speaker, Dr. Keshav Prasad sir, and moderator, Dr. Vinita Pai ma'am, and all participants for your support and participation. Kindly please fill the feedback form, which the link of which has been provided in the chat box. The certificates will be issued after filling the feedback form. Uh, Thank you, one and all, and hope to receive the same support for our future webinars. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ananda.